Welcome to NCSS Here for You. For over 50 years, Northwestern Counseling and Support Services has been providing access to quality psychosocial services to the residents of Franklin and Grand Isle counties. Over the years, as the needs of the community have changed, so too have the programs and services that we make available to assist children, adolescents, adults, families, and seniors. We take our role in the community seriously, and we strive to provide the highest quality services. According to Erik Erikson, a noted developmental psychologist, every person must pass through a series of 8 interrelated stages over the entire life cycle. NCSS provides a continuum of services to meet the needs of individuals who at any point seek assistance. NCSS's purpose is creating a stronger community, one person at a time. Now, let's get to today's show. I'm Joe Halco, Director of Community Relations for Northwestern Counseling and Support Services, and welcome to another episode of NCSS Here for You. Each month in this program we discuss a human services topic, and we do that with staff from one of our 3 direct services divisions. Our 3 service divisions are Behavioral Health Services, Children, Youth and Family Services, and Developmental Services. And on occasion, we have members from organizations that NCSS collaborates with throughout the year. This month's episode is titled Solution-Focused Treatment. As the name suggests, solution-focused treatment focuses on solutions rather than problems. Individuals and their families are supported to identify times when they are successful and build upon these successes rather than analyzing the problem. To discuss solution-focused treatment in greater detail, I'm pleased to introduce this month's guest, and that is Samantha Thomas, NCSS's Children's Initial Response Team Leader. Sam, welcome to the program.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Now, Sam, to begin with, why don't you spend a lot of time talking about the problem that is bringing someone into the treatment as opposed to the positives?
Sure. So I think basically the principle is kind of you get what you ask for. So, for example, if I asked you, Joe, I want to know how your day was. I could either ask you, how was your day? Or I could ask you, what was good about your day? And you could imagine answering those 2 questions in very different ways.
Sure.
The first one, you could answer all of the things that, maybe went wrong with your day.
Sure.
But with the second one, I've not allowed you to do that. I've really focused you on talking about what's been positive about your day. And that's a real positive shift. And that's really what solution-focused treatment is based on. We definitely talk about what the presenting problem is and what's bringing our clients in. We want to hear out our clients, our kids and families. We want to know what they're struggling with because we want them to feel heard. But we don't spend a lot of time, like most other therapeutic treatment models do, really exploring maybe where those problems have arisen from. We want to get a general picture and then we want to move on.
And are there ways of thinking about treatment that are important to solution-focused providers to effectively use this particular model?
Absolutely. When we do solution-focused treatment, we really have to spend some time as clinicians deciding what kind of assumptions do we bring to the work that we're doing. And most clinicians do that anyway in their work. They want to really be checking themselves and making sure that they're being thoughtful about how they're approaching treatment and the work that they're doing with their clients. And a couple of the real basic ones for solution-focused are that change is constant and change is possible. All of our clients have the strengths and resources within themselves to make positive change. And we really need to believe in that, particularly when we're using the solution-focused model, because it really is about empowering families with respect to what I do with working with children and families to be able to make those positive changes. And I think another piece that's definitely different and was hard for me at first to kind of wrap my mind around when I learned this model is that it's really not necessary when you're using this model to know why a problem occurred or to go back and really kind of sort out what the causes were. By using the different techniques in the treatment model, you learn those things while focusing on the future.
And what are the key elements of this model?
So I think what's really, really important is goals. So I talked a little bit about, really believing that our clients can achieve success and have the resources within themselves to make those changes. It's important for us as the clinicians, when we're working with them, to help our kids and families to identify small, doable, concrete goals. A lot of folks might come in with maybe a larger goal that's going to take some time to work on. And with solution-focused treatment, we really want to create opportunities for success. And so if we focus on the broader goal that's out there, our clients may not feel success as quickly as if we really break down that goal into more attainable steps. And with doing that, they're again able to see that they can make that success, and it just builds and allows them to feel more confident that they can address and work through whatever problems brought them in to have treatment. One of the things that's kind of what people think of, I think, most when they hear solution-focused treatment is the miracle question. And it's a question that sometimes when you ask it, it can throw people off. They feel it's different. It's not something that folks are kind of typical and used to hearing. And so without kind of laying it right out there, the general concept is, if we were meeting together and you came in, I would ask you to suppose or imagine that you go home tonight after we've met, you go about your daily, evening activities, and you go to sleep. But while you're asleep, a miracle happens, and you don't know that the miracle has happened. And the miracle is that the problems that brought you in to access support have either been solved or have been solved enough that you don't need to come in for further treatment. And then we ask our clients to think about, if when you wake up and you don't know that that miracle has happened, what would you notice? And it's a real shift in thinking about, we've been thinking about what's been going wrong. Now we're going to say it's solved. That problem is gone. And we spend a lot of time, it can be really difficult to answer that question because it's hard to think about sometimes, if there's been a problem that's been going on for a long time. It can be a little tricky to think about what's it going to be like when it's solved. And so we as the clinicians, our responsibility is to help families and kids really flush that out. So we ask questions, asking them to think about, what will you be doing? Who might notice something different about you? How might you feel? Things like that. I think that's a really crucial part of this treatment model in particular. It really sets the stage, and it allows us as clinicians and the clients to then take that information and really form those concrete goals to be able to move forward. So that's...
And I would imagine that because everybody's an individual and are at different places, and that to get to that point is going to take some people longer than others because they're just not going to be able to get over that bridge too quickly. Would that be a fair
I think that's fair. Sometimes
statement?
when we ask the miracle question, it's really hard for people to, like I said before, identify what it's going to be like. And so we might say, could you guess? And we'll really be supportive throughout that process for them to think about, what could it possibly be like when your miracle has happened. And some folks it takes a little bit longer with. Some folks, they're right on it. We have a lot of kids who will say, oh, well, I know what it, I know exactly what it will be like. I'll get along with my sister, mom won't yell at me, or, all of those things.
Sure.
So they really have a good sense, and we kind of build on that. Another part of solution-focused treatment that's really important is what's called exceptions. And that's really where we're learning a lot about our clients when they're answering the miracle question. They're sometimes surprising themselves with what they're kind of coming up with. And so what we really want to look for are there times in the past where maybe a little bit of their miracle has happened? So, maybe a day where they didn't feel so depressed, or one morning getting ready for school that they didn't not brush their teeth and, give their mom and dad or whoever a hard time. And so we really look for opportunities to explore, have those things happened. And most of the time we're able to find sometimes for families and kids where they can say, yeah, you know what, way back then, that was actually a really great day. And once we have that little nugget, we do what's called amplifying in this model, and we ask questions and we say, okay, so what was different about that day? What did you do? What did they do? When we just really explore that and kind of flush it out, hoping to find little pieces that are kind of replicable, so that moving forward we can kind of draw on those successes and just kind of stretch that out.
Now, what did you hope when you first started using this model from your own perspective?
Yeah, so we, about 2 years ago, I think it was, in the summer, my team in the children's division and some folks from other divisions in the agency went to a 2-day training. And the hope was to learn a different model of treatment and to see how that model of treatment could not only improve the quality of the services that we already deliver, but could help us to help our clients gain success quicker. Our whole goal is to have our kids and families make progress and achieve their goals. And if there's, we thought if there's a way to do that faster so that families can move on and be successful, we really want to do that. It also allows us to be able to serve more families. And we have 2 big counties that we serve.
Sure.
And so we were definitely hoping that using this model would help us to just improve the quality and increase the quantity of kids and families and across the division, just consumers in our community that we could be really successful with and show some success for.
And what have you found most surprising about implementing this strategy?
Well, that it actually works. We were very skeptical, when we were sitting and listening to this woman talk about this model, because it is different in a lot of ways than the way that a lot of us were trained. And so it challenged us a little bit to stretch, how we think about the work and really think about how we can be better at what we do. So there was definitely a lot of wondering and skepticism, but we've really seen how this model has really empowered our kids and families to make success. And on my team, the Children's Initial Response Team, 2 programs in particular have really been the focus of kind of implementing this model. Our family intervention, which is supporting youth in the community as well as that youth's family in the home, and then family assessment, which is basically our kind of front door, our intake to our division, and at times our larger system of care. And what we really wanted to do was to see if we could use this model to improve, like I said, the quality of service and to be able to serve more families. So we started tracking that back in November in 2012, and just keeping track of how many families we're starting to use this model with, and keeping track of how long our intervention is before the families feel that they've made success. And that's actually one thing that I should have said earlier. Another aspect of the model that's really important and helped us tremendously in being able to recognize if we're being successful and if the families are finding it helpful is something called scaling. And basically, that's where we ask our kids and families to reflect upon, kind of on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being maybe the worst the problem has ever been, and 10 being the miracle has happened, or the problem is solved enough that they don't feel like they need to access treatment anymore. And what scaling really does is it asks folks to really put a stake in the ground and say, today I am at a 3. And that helps us to be able to identify how to help and identify next steps or tasks to help them move up towards a 10. So we might say, you're at a 3 today. By next week or the next time that we see you, what might have to happen to be a 3.5 or a 4, something like that. And so what we've done in kind of piloting this model and using it in our work is we've really looked at saying, you know, the clients really know when they've made success, and we really want to find a way for them to tell us. And scaling is a way to do that. So we keep track of where folks are scaling when they start with us and where they're scaling at the end. And we've really found a pretty significant positive result thus far with some of our families that have really made tremendous gains.
You know, and the first thing I think of when you say that's part of the model on the scaling is that people have already been, to a degree, predisposed to that sort of thinking, like when they go to their doctor.
Yes.
And if they've been feeling pain, and then they look at the little chart, and, you know, how much pain are you feeling today, from 1 being virtually none on all the way up to 10 where you're in agony, you know, or somewhere in between. So I guess what I'm saying is that, you know, at least people have sort of, to one degree or another, been predisposed to at least working with a scale and trying to give information that relates to how they're doing and how they're feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm actually glad that you said that, Joe, because that is a comfortable place for families to be able to say, you know, yes, on a scale of 1 to 10, you know, they're familiar with that. And I think what's really unique about Solution Focus is that if you think a lot sometimes about, particularly when you're at the doctor and they're saying, you know, 1 to 10, how's your pain? Oftentimes when we are creating those scales, the good stuff or the positive is the small end of the scale, and the bad stuff
is on the high
pain
end.
is on the high end. And so with, you know, Solution Focus, we really
This is really
we
inverted.
switch it.
Yeah, right.
You know, we really want to give that 10 value to problem is solved. I feel good. My miracle's happened.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not feeling depressed anymore. I've really worked on, you know, whatever it is that's brought them in.
Sure.
And that's a significant part of just helping kind of shift that focus.
Now, what have you found most surprising? Oh, I've asked you that actually. But what aspects have you found most useful or most successful in the work that you've done with this model?
Yeah, I think ultimately the shift, really just making that shift to focusing on the solutions versus the problem. Sometimes it can be, it's a little jarring at first sometimes for folks to, well, you know, they wonder, okay, why are we talking about that? I really wanted to tell you about what's going wrong. But through work with it, we've really found that families, they want to do better. Our kids want to be successful. And by focusing on that time when they are, it just shifts and it really empowers them in a lot of ways. I think we've also, you know, we can work with families for a while. We work with kids for a while, and we're working on multiple goals, and we might really feel like we really know this child and family. We feel like we've got a good read, we've got good goals, and we're moving forward. What's been interesting about using Solution Focused is that particularly the miracle question, because it's so unique and different, it taps into things that our clients may not have shared with us before. And so we're learning all these new things about our clients. They're helping us to relook at our goals and really focus in on some aspects. I've had some situations where I've just been blown away by some of the things that folks have shared with me and thought, okay, well this, you know, it makes sense, and now I can really use this information with you to set some different goals or to tweak our goals and hopefully make some really good progress.
Now, do clinicians use this model solely?
Some do, and some don't. The woman that we trained with, she would say that she doesn't know how to think any other way than solution focused, which was one of the things that kind of made us a little skeptical. We're like, hey now.
How can that be?
Right, you know, throwing the baby out with the bathwater kind of a thing. So you can absolutely, some clinicians, this is really the model that they ascribe to, and they believe in it and they jump in. You know, other clinicians take aspects of it and integrate that and assimilate the different aspects into the skill set or the model treatment approach that they already use. And I would say that that latter part is what we've done in our programming in the children's division on my team thus far. You know, we have training in a number of different modalities of treatment, And we need to always be thinking about our client individually and making sure that we are providing the right care for our client. And so I think we've really successfully been able to take kind of those key elements of the solution-focused work and apply them. And I know we definitely have some outpatient clinicians that are comfortable with this model and really like it, but like I said, you can go in the whole way, or you can take aspects of it and really make it work for who you're working with.
Now, I know you touched on this a little earlier, but if you could elaborate a little more on what programs you do use this model with or in
Sure.
the agency.
Sure. So on my team, the Children's Initial Response Team, we have 4 different programs. One of them is family assessment, which is that intake and front door. A lot of times Todd, our division director, will say, if you have questions, call family assessment, they'll take care of it, which is always nice for Todd. And we're happy to step up to the plate. But really, family assessment sometimes is the first face that a youth or a family is going to see when they come and they meet NCSS, and we're kind of the first impression. And we really feel that if we can start there by focusing on the solution and using this, that's going to help the families when they go into other services either be comfortable with accessing support through this model, or maybe even seek it out. So we definitely do that in our assessment process. And then we have an ongoing program that is our family intervention team. And so we have staff who meet with youth age 6 to about 18. We go up to 22, but typically 18 is typically our oldest youth. And they work with those youth in the community, building skills, individualized for whatever is going on for that youth. And then they provide a nice bridge and work with that youth's home environment. So whoever guardians are, parents are, they'll spend some time with that family working on more of a family-based goal. And family intervention is really neat because sometimes our kids have a hard time expressing themselves appropriately to their families. And so when they build a relationship with our family intervention specialist, that staff can help that youth advocate for themselves, communicate with their families, more appropriately, and really be heard. So I would say that would be where we've really, really focused our solution-focused learning on, because it's a really great program, and we have a lot of families who'd really like to access it. And so we're really wanting to see what solution-focused treatment could do for us to be able to offer more services to more families. I would say those are the 2 primary programs, at least on my team, where we use this model. We do have a crisis clinician on our team as well, and she has found some aspects of this model really interesting as well in her crisis work. She certainly has typical crisis techniques that she must use to ensure safety, but being able to focus on that solution, I think she's found to be quite helpful in working with youth. And like I said before, we do have some outpatient clinicians
who are also using.
Yep. Absolutely.
Now, do you work with any individuals who were transitioned to this model after they'd already been in treatment? And if so, how have they reacted to the change?
Yeah, we definitely have a lot of families that we were working with when we got trained, or we're working with in November when we decided to kind of start it up and really kind of keep track of what we were doing. And we've found that families have really responded well, and they've really, just enjoyed this shift. And, I think it's allowed a little bit more hope to be instilled for our families, because sometimes there's a lot going on, and it can be really hard to get beyond all of the problems and all of the things that aren't going well. And so if we as the clinicians are helping them to really shift that focus, that's a positive. And we've really seen our kids really like it, you know, and there's lots of different strategies and different ways to make it more kid friendly or more family friendly. And I think we've really seen some success, and we've just by, you know, maybe from week to week as we're meeting with a family, just by saying our first question when we, you know, get to the house is, so what's gone well this week? That's just a real shift in, you know, we want to know we want to know what's working, and let's build on that. Versus, you know, we certainly want to hear what's not going well because we want to,
Yes.
you know, sort that out. But just making that shift, I think families have really found it to be helpful in being able to just be hopeful about the future, that their problems aren't permanent and that they can be successful and move on. So I think it's been successful with both kids and families that we were working with prior to the model, as well as the families that we started with in this approach.
So it sounds like this has truly been a home run,
It really has.
incorporating this into the
It really has, and I'm really hopeful that the work that we've done and the learning that we've done, we'll be able to share with, you know, the rest of our division, certainly, and the rest of our agency. We've had some really neat educational tools that we've been able to use, some CD or DVD, I should say, learning, which can sometimes just be a little bit more exciting than, you know, a two-day full day training. But we're hopeful that other teams will see the success that we've made and, you know, do a little learning and try to implement some of those strategies as well.
Now, Samantha, for anybody who may be watching and has heard this and is thinking, boy, this might be something that, you know, we feel that would help us in our situation, how do they get in touch with you?
Sure. So you can definitely call me, Samantha Thomas, and my number is 393-6584.
Okay, say that again.
It's 393-6584. And I'd certainly be happy to talk with folks that are interested and help them get sorted out into whatever service or treatment option would be most helpful for them.
Okay, that sounds
Yeah.
great. Well, it's hard to believe that our time is almost up, but I do want to thank you for being here today. And as I said, it really sounds like, you know, this has been a treatment model that you've found to be, in the short time that you've been dealing with it, you can already see some outcomes that you're very excited by. And certainly that's the whole point of getting involved in new treatment modalities, is that you want to better those that you're serving. And it certainly sounds like you and your team are making great strides in that direction.
Yeah, definitely.
So again, I want to thank my special guest, Samantha Thomas, for being on the show today and sharing her insights on how solution-focused treatment is an approach which can have positive outcomes for many of the youth and their families that NCSS serves. I also want to thank you, the viewer, for spending time with us again this month. I'm Joe Halco, and I'll be back next month with another episode of NCSS Here for You. This has been another episode of NCSS Here for You. We hope that you found today's discussion informative and educational. For over 50 years, Northwestern Counseling and Support Services has been providing access to quality psychosocial services to the residents of Franklin and Grand Isle counties. Over the years, as the needs of the community have changed, so too have the programs and services that we make available to assist children, adolescents, adults, families, and seniors. Thanks once again for tuning in this month. NCSS's purpose remains creating a stronger community, one person at a time.